Thank everybody for coming tonight. Welcome to our meeting. I guess I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the one correction,
That-
deleting the introduction, or the BOS fire alarm penalty ordinance.
I'll second the motion.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 24th, 2023, special meeting.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Approval of the meeting minutes for October 12th, 2023, regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, and there were very two minor corrections that I already spoke to Hunter about on page 2. They were typographical. They've already been corrected, so.
Okay, with the designation,
Yeah.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 16th, 2023, special meeting?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye. And do I have a motion to approve the treasury report and bill list for October 2023?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna move along to the public comment for anything that's on the agenda. We'll start at the front row, work our way back, and I need you to stand up. Just tell us who you are, where you live, and then you can speak on your topic. Row 1. And we're gonna be getting to you, Ed.
He's next.
Okay, row 2. Row 3. Yes, sir.
Stand up there.
You can stand where you're at. You have a pretty good voice.
The township has a Vision Zero policy, and I don't know if there's anybody here from Georgetown Village.
If you just want to mention your name for the
Yeah, Cliff
record
Paniton,
and your address.
2 Genesis Drive, Blandon, Pennsylvania. The first thing is on this Vision Zero policy, it's all about safety. And I know at the Genesis Drive roundabout entrance into Maidencreek Estates in Georgetown Village, there's been a lot of people that are driving out the entrance. I saw witness 3 myself. The people that work over at Penn State Healthcare has witnessed several people doing it. In fact, I applaud the gentleman who did this, but somebody in Georgetown Village actually made a sign to make sure to stop people from going out that entrance. I only made 2 copies.
Oh, thank you.
But I just think somebody should be doing something about that, putting up professional signs.
When did they put that in there?
Is that on private property?
It's
or-
on the
It's on township property, he put the
Okay.
sign, but I'm just saying, I think you need to buy real signs. I mean, because somebody's gonna get killed. I mean, there's people actually leaving the entrance and actually going the wrong way in the roundabout too.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it just happens so many times, and I witnessed at least 3 of them.
Right, that sounds appropriate, if we could have our
So I
road
think
crew
somebody should
take care of
do
this.
something about that.
Well, I think we actually, because it's going out on the,
I wonder too is, and I don't know where or what the background is on why that is an island like that. I mean, I know what there needs to be an island there, but why is it fully landscaped? I mean, maybe if there wasn't trees and stuff, and if you're not familiar with it, you're coming
I think
out.
it used to be 2 lanes at one time, and they blocked the 1 lane off. But I mean, I wouldn't change that at all, because it helps protect people driving in, but I'm just saying, I think you need to put 2 signs.
yeah, I was gonna say that you need 2 signs
I
on
mean,
either
almost
side.
if you replicate sort of what that guy did,
Mhm.
but I think something needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think we post signs in
Or
the township
somebody
right
gets
away.
Yeah,
Should be able
we
to
should
take
be
care
able
of
to
that.
take care of that. It's
all-
all about
it's all
internet.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I have is in my quest for warehouses, looking, between Berks County and other counties, I happen to run across an agenda from the Greenwich Township Board of Supervisors meeting. And I see Diane's here today, so maybe she can answer this question. But I saw there was a motion to authorize the solicitor to prepare an intergovernmental agreement with Maidencreek Township to share administrative services. I just was curious, you know what that's about? Does anybody know what that's about?
We do,
I do.
yes.
Well, can you explain it to me, because I was not aware that Maidencreek Township was requesting any type of intermunicipal cooperation or services from Greenwich Township.
Yes, come the new year, Diane will be assuming the responsibility of management as township manager.
Oh, here?
Yes, and that's through the agreement with Greenwich Township. It was that she was asked to come back here at one point, and then she said no. So we weren't quite sure what we were doing at that point. And then I guess she had a conversation with her supervisors, and they agreed to share her services. So
So she'll be full-time here.
So
Should be-
if I could just jump in, so no formal action has
Action.
happened
No.
here yet. There was some discussion, however, no formal discussion has occurred here because if Greenwich would have said no, the discussion would have ended there. So we would have never had a reason to bring it here. Since
So this
they
is a
have
full-time
agreed to do it, I did reach out to their solicitor and said, reach out to me and let's talk about what the parameters are going to be. I don't even know what those parameters are yet from Greenwich. So, but that'll be something that will come before this board in the
So
future.
it's a shared,
Like,
it's.
he said it was
full-time
done.
position
I
here?
just want to make sure it's understood that that's not done
It's
yet,
not
but
done.
it's being considered.
My question is,
Yeah.
it full-time?
no,
So we're taking a full-time position and making it half part-time?
yes.
Is there a reason why we didn't do that a long time ago?
Well, because we entered into an agreement with somebody full-time, so we were established with that. But at this point, we've got a lot of things going on that we've got to look at.
I mean, I'm just thinking with all this going on right now, I have a hard time with the township manager right now, just because he's so booked up with stuff. I'm just trying to figure out how you're gonna do a half-on.
Yeah.
That's just my comment.
Well, and I have some follow-up questions, because I was not part of the discussion to enter into any agreement to bring back Diane
No.
Howlenbach.
You were not,
And why was that?
because you were not going to be a supervisor next year.
There's a pending agreement right now that
There's
you're
no
asking.
pending agreement.
You're asking a township, another township, to provide services to this township currently.
We
I
asked them
sit
if
on
they
this
would
board
be
right now.
interested in doing that, and they just got back to us. There is no agreement in writing at all whatsoever right now.
Okay, well, I have a lot of problems with this, because like I said, I was
Well,
not
we
aware.
had a lot of problems with you getting rid of her in the first place, and
No.
we couldn't get
Okay,
through
so
those with you,
there's a
so
number of
that's what we're
issues-
dealing
There's a
with.
number of issues here. One
Yeah, there
is-
are.
We don't, you can
Okay.
handle this.
Well, we're not going to deal with them now.
Well, I'm specifically gonna bring a couple of
You
issues.
specifically bring it up.
Now,
Next,
I have the floor right now, and you're not gonna cut me
three,
off.
aisle
The
number
problem
three.
is chapter 23 of our township ordinance details 20 specific responsibilities of our township manager. We've had a full-time manager for at least
Do we
20
get the
years.
point of order like
There's
you do
a
all the
lot,
time?
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Because you're
issues
way
here.
out of
No,
line.
there's issues on
Anybody else
the
in
floor,
number
He's
three?
and
Anybody in number
no,
four?
we have this issue's been brought forward.
Listen, I'm not talking
and I
about
know
it now.
this. I'm a member of this
Enough.
board, and I have the ability to speak, and
You
you're not gonna
do
tell
have
me
the
that I
ability to
can't
speak. Do it outside, because I just gabbled you.
That is totally inappropriate. We have a solicitor.
Number four
No,
item.
we have a
Anybody?
solicitor here, and the problem is
And he
Anybody
just-
in
he
number
just said
five?
move it on.
problems here.
He just said we're moving on. He just said it.
Anybody in number six?
We're in public comment now, so I think while you can bring this up, it's not the time for it.
Yes.
Anybody else from the Treetops Development? You guys get a copy.
Oh, yeah, I got one.
I think it's not the same thing. Good evening, I'm from the Treetops Development. My name is Dennis West.
Yes.
I reside at 218 Calorie, and I have handouts for the people up front and a few extras. Do you want me to pass them around, or
If you would, please.
take one and pass them? First on that side. Wait till you get a copy. Okay, I'm just going to read the top left-hand box. The rest of it, I might just touch on a little bit, but that's about it. In June of 2023, Mr. Fielding called a meeting of the Treetops residents to discuss the future of Treetops as he was planning to retire in January of 24. We gathered gathered residents, asked that we revoke the trust that's in there for now, and pass the maintenance of the Maidencreek Township, ask the maintenance of the drainage ditch and treetops to the Maidencreek Township. The action by trustee required a secret ballot with 90% affirmative results and concluded October 1st. We had 113 houses vote to revoke the trust, 3 houses vote to not revoke the trust, and 6 houses did not vote. From that, I know that 3 of them refused to vote because they're not in the trust, and I'll talk about that in a second. With this action completed, we request Maidencreek Township Supervisor's action on November 9th, which is tonight. We're asking that you revoke the Treetops Trust, and we want to bring up a couple points. They're listed out there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. The 4th thing that you need to know about is the members of the Treetops Trust. Only about 70% of the houses in the Treetops Trust are deeded as being responsible for the Treetops ditch. So the maintenance is being unfairly put upon the 70% that are in the trust, that have trust in the deed. So just asking that you can revoke the trust at some point in the next time in writing. I brought along Mr. Figley, who has supervised the vote. He has the vote answers if you want them, and he's working with Mr. Fielding to maintain that trust.
I don't know that we're
Any questions?
in any position to vote on this tonight.
We are not expecting you to vote tonight, but we would like a vote in writing, probably in your December meeting, or January is fine too.
And I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that, so we're going to have to defer to our legal counsel.
That's what
Are you aware of
we're
this?
I was aware this request was going to be made. I was not aware of the facts that the vote was already
Okay.
occurred with the trust, but I can give you advice if you would like for the December meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions about this point?
So what do you propose, I mean, so a vote was taken of the residents to revoke the trust?
The trust has,
And-
yep, so go ahead.
Well, okay, so which, I realize that we've discussed this over the years with Mr. Fabley and Mr. Fielding and possibly other attorneys. So you were asking basically for the township to take this responsibility over of maintaining the drainage basin?
Correct.
Stormwater basin.
Yep.
All right, I guess we have to have legal advice.
Any other questions? Did want to point out that the trust is requiring us to have a 90% vote. We have just a little bit above that, like 92%. So. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I do.
He's also in the 6th row, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on paper? Oh, wonderful. I brought like 17 copies.
There's more copies up here.
There's a few more up there too.
And my name is James Fegley, I am the attorney for the Treetops Trust. Mr. Fielding, the trustee, was supposed to be here tonight to make his presentation. I received an email from him late yesterday that something unexpected had come up and he could not be here.
He's also the coroner, correct?
Pardon me?
He's also the coroner.
Yes, thank you. What I have with me is a written certification that I took in front of a notary that confirms what Dennis West has just reported on, that there were 113 yes votes and 3 no votes. And I have with the certification a set of all the resolutions that the homeowners voted upon, and some other exhibits for your solicitor that I thought would be helpful to see where we come with all of this and why we've come to this point. I think Mr. West's one-page summary is really well done. When I came tonight, he was the first person here, and I didn't know that he had had that summary done. So he took a lot of my thunder, which I'm very grateful for. You have enough on your agenda tonight. But I would like to leave this paper with your solicitor. We're going to take a look at their copies there for the board as well. And if it's satisfactory with you and your solicitor contacts me to say we're going to make a decision at the December meeting or the January meeting or whatever that might be, I would certainly want to come back on the night in which you do finally intend to make that decision, whatever it might be, so that we might know your answer, and especially in light of the fact that Mr. Fielding announced he's resigning as trustee.
Do you know when that's effective? or-
I do, December 31st.
Okay.
So after December 31st, he will no longer be the trustee. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm sure your solicitor would be happy to respond to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the back row like to speak? Yes, sir.
I just asked that all the treetop residents rise, just to let you know how many of us are here. I didn't realize that all of the people here are my neighbors. I thought you should know.
From tree trunks, they branch out.
Know those roots.
Ah, the new roots. Okay, well, thanks for coming. Anybody out in the hallway there that wants to say anything? No? Okay,
Out.
Dave, you want your-
Can I just ask a question?
you can.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question or not, but I was just curious as to the, I believe, rumor was it was a pickleball court being built at the park. It got washed away from the storm and that,
Yes.
where that stood. I don't know if this is the right time.
Well, I used to stand in the park and then got washed down.
I can, you want me to address that?
Got
Yeah, about a third of it, floodwaters got under it and rippled it and overturned it. The hope is the week after Thanksgiving, the damaged part is paved, so the entire thing is paved. And then in the spring, we don't have to wait for it to cure, because you gotta wait 30 days for it to cure. So in the spring, should be ready, get that surface painted on there, get the poles and the nets, and play pickleball.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. We just saw it sitting there for the last couple of months and we were just
There
wondering.
are more important things to do than
The storms put us into a pickle of our own.
Well, 11 inches of rain in 6 hours is kind of an issue. People lost their homes.
Unless you want to do underwater pickleball.
Basket weaving.
Yeah, quite a splash with that.
All right,
Okay.
moving on.
Okay, so now we're going to go to reports, and we have PFM with us tonight. Evening.
I guess this is the place to stand, so I'll go over
If
here.
you want to use the podium, you can use that as well. That's up to you.
Well, thanks for having me. I know some of you, met some of you personally from the previous conversations related to the authority. I attended a Zoom meeting a few months back to discuss the concept related to the authority's transaction. And a couple months back, I was hired by the township to serve as the advisor on some upcoming potential financings related to capital needs of the township. So for tonight, I want to go run through the concept, the process, the plan. A lot of it is going to be very similar to the concepts that we thought about and are doing with the authority transaction. Only difference, of course, is the authority is not involved in this transaction. This is only a township-related financing. So tonight's action, all we're asking for, should you decide to move forward, is to allow us to advertise for an ordinance, which would be for a approval of a parameters ordinance, which again is very similar to what we've done with the authority. And I'll run into more details on that. So the formal debt issuance and action would happen at a future meeting, i.e. next week, potentially. All of this is really for information purposes, and I'm happy to answer any questions on it. So the background here is simple enough. We are considering moving forward with a financing that would provide funds for various capital needs. It would be amortized over a 20-year period. We are asking for a maximum amount of $6.6 million. That is the total max annual debt service. The real max will be around $5 million. You can make some final decisions on what we'll end up borrowing, but we want to leave enough flexibility to do certain things when we go to the market itself. So when I talk about the max parameters, there's going to be a higher borrowing amount, a higher interest rate. We're going to establish a maximum or a final maturity. All of those things will be filed with the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCD, which is a normal circumstance when you do something like this. And the parameters essentially allow the finance team to work through the process over a period of time to get to an issuance in the future. We would not be issuing debt at least until next year at this point in time. A couple of tidbits that's tied to the authority transaction was As you recall, we did guarantee that debt, and as part of that process, we went through a credit rating process. So now we know what the underlying credit rating of the township is. I had a good idea when we were doing it. That ended up being a Standard & Poor's A+. So that would be more than likely the credit rating on this transaction. The process that we would go through after this approval of the ordinance would be very similar. We would work with a finance team to prepare, get the official statement ready to go for a public offering when the time comes. We would go through a credit rating process just like we did the authority. They would ask somewhat similar questions as they asked us a month ago. And when we're ready, we would go to market. And we would have those maximum interest rates, maximum maturity, and maximum borrowing amount established. We certainly would not do anything until the administration is ready to move at that point in time, and we would get a formal document that is signed at the time of the financing that approves the transaction. So although you would be making a approval of an ordinance that establishes certain things, we still have an extra step to get the final signed document once the sale has occurred. So everyone would know what's going on when the time comes. Okay, that's the big picture. Just like we were considering with the authority, we would be planning on issuing $5 million or less. That would be what we would consider. That follows certain special exemptions for issuers like you. They're called small issuer exemption. It's a special term under certain category under the arbitrage rebate rules. Big picture here is we would be borrowing at somewhere around 4.65, 4.75, whatever the market ends up being. The funds would come at settlement, whenever that would be, and you would be investing those funds at market rates. The current interest rate environment for investments of this fashion are around 5.5%. And under these rules, you can borrow, earn the money that you're received, and you can earn above that special yield. So everything you get, you keep, which is nice. And that'll allow you to do those capital projects as well as the borrowed funds. So again, very similar in concept. It would be a general obligation issue, which means it's backed by the taxing power of the township to cover the debt service tied to it. So those are all the big details associated with this, very similar in concept. I'll only briefly run through a few of these pages. Again, it's very, very similar, even the concept itself. Again, you have to have a reasonable expectation to spend the money you're borrowing within 3 years. That's important. I believe based on the capital improvement plan and the needs of the township that falls within that category, you have to finalize this legal documentation and prepare all the necessary things tied to all this. But all those things will be ready to go for when the time comes. I'll skip to the next page, which is page 4. Again, just want to give you an idea. Should you borrow somewhere around $5 million, given the structure of this would be like a mortgage, you'd be paying it back over a 20-year period. The first principal payment would occur in 2025, so it would be essentially an interest-only period in 2024. You'd have a partial period in 2025, so it gives you some phase-in until we get to the largest chunk of the debt service. So
I just have one question though. It does show $180,000 for
Yes.
2024.
yes, we can structure it a couple ways. That would be the interest-only payment. So that
Right,
would,
so there would still be $180,000 due in 2024.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. If there's I should point this out, we can do something called capitalized interest, which we would have to include in the ordinance as an allowable use. And what that really means is you can borrow funds tied to the transaction to offset the interest expense during construction. Obviously, that means you have $180,000 less for capital projects. So it's really a philosophical question for the township on that side. But yes, based on the structure, like any structure, you'd be paying interest back from day one. Other than that, the remaining payments would be reasonably level from years 2026 on, of about $400,000 per year annually. These are, of course, estimates. We believe these are relatively conservative interest rates. Next week, we actually are pricing the bond issue for the authority, so we'll have that locked up. That's a little longer amortization over about 25 years, but it'll give us a good idea of what the market will look like. But based on what we've been doing with other issuers around the area, we did a transaction for Spring and Amity Township very recently. We'll be doing something for Exeter very soon. But given what we've seen from the markets, again, somewhere in the kind of 4.6, 4.75 range. Again, it'll change, of course, but I think that's what we're considering at this point in time. So that's at least the math part of it, that's the timing here. And again, the summary of what this amortization looks like, again, very similar to what we did with the authority. You would have this max payment schedule that is the basis for how we can adjust things based on structuring. We will not have a 7% interest rate, we just have to use maximum size on all these fronts to make sure we fit the state guidelines, because ultimately, we're not issuing debt until a later time, so we want to have things higher and longer and higher payment and higher borrowing amount as well.
So at what point does the interest rate actually lock in?
When we're ready to go to market, so it can be as early as January 1st if we hustle. I mean, it's not going to happen on January 1st.
Well, right, so it's whatever the current interest rate is
Yep.
at that time, so it could be February 1st?
Yeah, it could be
More
the end of
realistically,
January.
or?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, because the authority has done a transaction and then we'll have the parameters in place based on working, with administration on getting things together, it can happen, we can lock it in sometime in January, if all planned.
And of course, interest rates are subject to going up or down. as
That's
well.
correct.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, and obviously, I should point out, I'm your fiduciary here, I work on your behalf.
Right.
So I don't benefit the bank, and I work for a bank, I'm your advisor. So conceivably, as we go through the process, if we see the market shifting in a position that we're not comfortable with, we can make a decision to hold off for a period of time or move forward. That gives us the flexibility by having this parameters.
And one of the reasons we're doing this now is there's a cost savings involved since we did it that close to the authority as
Yes.
well. So I think that's something that the public has a right to know as well. So if we would have waited, we would have had quite a bit more to expend. So we're trying to do it in a close proximity so that we can save money in our
You can earn more over the
Oh, we
course of
can earn,
time,
right.
which is good, which is a good thing. And again, because of this split up between calendar years, so we'll be settling on the authority transaction before December 31st. And again, this one, although you would, should you decide, approve this in November, we wouldn't be settling on a transaction until after January 1st, whenever that would be.
Right.
So that is a strategy that we're trying to execute on.
Then how much leeway is there on the funds for the township as far as what they're dedicated to? How much has to be specified in advance or part of this bond?
Yeah, so there should be a draft, did Peter send the draft ordinance?
He did not send the draft
Okay.
ordinance here.
Generally speaking, the way the draft ordinance would be prepared, and it'll be available for public inspection in advance of the
Right.
meeting. But the way it would be written is it'll allow for usually an open, relatively open-ended purpose, and then you can add on, or specifically for roads, other infrastructure. Now, if the supervisors decided that after you borrowed the funds, and I point this out, there was a major change in the use that wasn't kind of fitting the ordinance, you could do something called a change of purpose ordinance and adjust the purpose after the fact. That said, you can't just decide to change the purpose and say, I'm going to put a Starbucks, attached to the municipal building. You can't do that because against tax rules. But, if there's a change in, a park project that may not fit within something, you can have a decision as a board to make that change as long as it fits within certain guidelines. So, although we want to leave as much, flexibility and structure in the ordinance, again, there is some leeway under the state guidelines to make some changes if necessary.
Can you send us a copy of those state guidelines that
Yeah,
cover
it's
this?
the Department of Community, yeah.
Yeah, but so we
Yeah.
have it for our review.
Of course, yeah. Your solicitor certainly has done plenty of transactions under these rules, but
Okay.
yeah, the most important part is, when, anytime there's a debt issuance in Pennsylvania, whether it's for $1 or $100 million, every single issuer has the same rules that they follow under these guidelines. And that process is getting formal action done in a public meeting, there's proper advertisements done, public comments and things associated with that, and then the formal advertisements both done before and after. And then there's ultimately a waiting period and an approval that's done by the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth doesn't opine on the projects you're doing technically, as long as it fits within the documents, but what they will opine on is that you're doing the steps correctly. Hence you have counsel that works with you on that process.
Sure.
I don't have much more. Again, the idea here is we were asking you to consider providing a motion to allow us to advertise in the Red Eagle for the meeting on the 15th of November, where we would come back with this ordinance, probably have a similar discussion as this, except there would be another body here that can talk about the legal document itself. Everything I really summarized is here.
Real quick, Jamie.
Do you still think that there is a chance that the rating could be adjusted if we were to adopt those policies that you talked to me about and after their budget meeting?
Thank you for bringing that up. So yes, I think it could be helpful to you. So as part of the rating process, there are several steps that are tied to things. When an independent group like Standard & Poor's reviews your credit rating, what they're looking at are several things. One, the demographic and financial information of the township, the tax base, developments, growth, population, wealth levels. You kind of put all those things together that they're kind of comparing. In addition, they look at institutional framework. Pennsylvania has its own rules and laws, so that fits under a certain concept. And then there's something called management, which ultimately falls under a big category that says that you're a local government, you do certain things that are of good management, which includes providing information to the public about your community reports, putting together policies and procedures that are tied to things that matter under debt. Well, prior to this, the authority and the township really haven't had much debt outstanding, so there really wasn't a need for anything of this capacity. So my suggestion is that we ask you to consider adopting a couple of policies, which include a debt management policy, and second, a fund balance policy. Both of those I've helped and provided a review. You don't need to do them tonight, you can if you want, but having those policies in place at some point in time, the rating agency will give you credit, essentially, for having those type of things under your window. And in that sense, it could provide a tick up under the management side, and conceivably it could provide a benefit or maybe even an upgrade at some point in time in the future of your rating. So having those things is a good thing. So obviously you want to maintain those policies, follow them, and establish them that fit your needs. But generally speaking, these are very common, and we've provided them a version that is normal to follow under Pennsylvania guidelines. I'm happy to go through more details on it, but it's really debt and fund balance are really two things.
I think I would just need a consensus from the board about whether you want me to spend time on editing them, and I'll have them ready for Wednesday.
Editing what?
Editing the policies that Jamie
The policies
provided
that
us
we
with
talked about,
templates.
okay. Yeah, I'd like to see those.
Do you want to see them before you decide?
I do. I want to see, yeah, before we actually have them. So we know what we're looking
You're gonna
for.
send them to us, but I think still having them prepared for Wednesday would be
Okay.
sufficient.
So I think you're talking two different things.
Yeah.
One, I think what I'm hearing is there's a consensus to do it, but they want to see it before Wednesday.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, these are township policies, they're not my policies. So
Right.
we want to make sure some of the things that we're putting in those policies fit within what the supervisors would like to have going
Mhm.
forward. So we happy to have you take a look at it.
Of course.
So that's one thing, again, it's not technically tied to this, but that certainly is something we should think
It'll
about.
benefit us.
Yes, definitely. So again, back to my original point was, if you would, at some point, whether it's now or later, ask you to make a motion to allow us to do the proper advertising to come back at the meeting on the 15th for the debt ordinance, which you then would have the ability to consider at that time.
So you're asking us to consider a debt ordinance that we haven't seen yet?
Yes,
It's
but you haven't
the
considered it yet, it's just the advertisement.
The advertisement.
You will be able to review the ordinance, it's gonna look very similar, which is what the authorities look like.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but it's still specific to us.
Yeah.
So are you asking for having actually a hearing on November 15th to approve this debt ordinance?
Yes.
Is that what you're?
Yes, so what we're asking is to put the advertisement in the paper, and then you would have a copy of the ordinance for review, and then you can ask questions, make determination, and approve that ordinance at that meeting if you want. But you have to advertise it to be able to adopt it, of course. And it's 3 days in advance of the board meeting is the technical rule, so that's why we're here tonight.
The reason we wanted to do it this way too is that if the board was not inclined to continue through the process of discussing this, better to do it now than after we've actually got all of the time invested into developing the ordinance drafts and everything along those lines, because that's not a good use of their time on our behalf. We don't want to ultimately have to pay out of pocket for those fees. We want to build that into the issuance itself. So that's why it was done this way. You would have the ability to vote it down on Wednesday if you weren't comfortable with the draft, or some changes to the draft as well. But you're not agreeing to do it. Again, it's just putting it in the paper so you get the requisite amount of time.
I understand that, but I'm not comfortable advertising an ordinance that I haven't seen to be voted on next week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't do that.
So, and if I can just add too, part of the reason we wanted to do it this way was because in order for you to get funds deposited as early in the year as possible, we want to make sure that we've got as much of the process done before the fiscal year ends, which was kind of why we were pushing to this.
I understand, but
Sure.
that's my position.
Yeah, thank you.
And just as more information. Generally speaking, the way the ordinances are written is it's mostly the Laguda guidelines, the local government guidelines that fits within creating a paying, having a paying agent, setting up a sinking fund. That's what it is. It's a fairly boilerplate.
Well, I appreciate all of that, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I understand.
So I'm not going to vote to authorize, I mean, to take a vote on something I haven't seen.
It's the same.
It's the same thing that-
I don't have it in front of me, I need to see it.
I know, but I'm saying we voted already for the authority, it's the same
That-
thing.
That was a different ordinance, and it was for
For
the authority.
Okay, so why don't we do it this way? We'll set up a special meeting for the 29th of November, and we'll have it here, and then we'll all get together and vote on that on the 29th of November.
Well, I don't know that I can make the
Is
29th, and I
that-
don't know anybody else can make it.
Jamie, is that enough time for us to move through the rating process this year, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we could, obviously, you don't technically have to have the ordinance approved to do the rating, but understand that we are doing something in good faith, that there's an acceptance of the ordinance in the future.
Right.
So that rating process would have a cost to it ultimately, so.
This is something we've been discussing for a couple of months now.
Yep, I agree.
So, and the timeline is the important factor here.
Yes.
So, you know, we're not gonna put a suicide mission in effect and abort the plans, otherwise we're going to abort the plans that we had,
Yeah.
the repairs to the roads, the bridges, and the streams. Then we'll just put those all in wait.
And to your point, Dave, you can always schedule the 29th or
And
another
however-
day
yeah.
from that meeting if you feel you need more time to look at it. And I'll provide the ordinance as soon as possible.
Well, that should give her plenty of time to look at it.
But all he's asking for is a motion to have it advertised in the paper. We can
Right.
still shoot the ordinance down that night if we don't like it.
Yeah.
We're
It's not
having-
simple.
we're having a
It's
meeting
right,
anyway on the
either way.
15th.
That's what I'm saying, so we have time to discuss it.
Well, we don't have a lot of time to discuss it, we don't have it
We'll have-
tonight, and tonight's Thursday. Well, I'm saying for myself, so, you know, you have your own schedule, I have mine.
Sure.
And I don't have it in front of me, so I'm, like I said, you can take
Okay,
the
well,
vote.
the other issue is we're gonna be here next year, and we're gonna need to look at the expenses and the problems that we've got to fix. And money isn't falling from the sky, so we're gonna need to look at what we can do to get it. At this point, this is an option, and I'm quite honestly ready to move forward tonight with just allowing the advertisement of the ordinance. If I'll make that motion, because this is something that has been in the works for several months. This isn't something that just popped up tonight,
We've seen it already through the water authority.
and we've seen the whole process.
I'm fine
So
seconding it, it's just,
I just want to correct someone for the 15th or the 29th, just.
No, the
I
15th.
thought that's where you're going, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that.
Yeah, no.
Keep it the same, I'll second the motion, because we've already, yes, we'll see it tailored towards Maidencreek Township, but it's the same as the authority, so we've gone through this process, so.
It's not a vote
There's
that
no
we have to
surprises
read.
here.
Well, no, but it also describes the work that's gonna be done, and I don't think we've had the agreement on exactly what work is going to be done. So
Yeah, 'cause
that's
you-
another part of it.
Are we getting reimbursed what we're owed to? I don't know.
We have a listing of the jobs that we're looking at doing, so.
Right,
we
and
just
that's
had to
part of
look
the
at it.
ordinance, and it's part of what should be presented before we vote on it.
I don't know, I was at the last couple of meetings, and I remember that being brought up, so.
It's been seconded.
Okay, any public comment on this issue? I mean, I've seen some heads shaking and things like that. So does anybody want to speak on this topic? If you want to, now's the time.
Go for it. Yeah.
These are bridges we're replacing, there's some street projects, there's some equipment that has to be replaced because it's in dire need. that's what we're doing. We're not just going out and saying, hey, listen, folks, we just want to take and get $5 million in our hands and take money or anything. These are issues that we've been struggling through, and it's going to make things a little more bearable. Yes, we have to pay it back, and yes, we understand that. But, you know, we keep holding off, and we've actually heard Heidi say at many meetings, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. Well, it takes money to do anything. And quite honestly, if you don't have it, you can't do it. And some of the things need to be done.
Some of the things should have been done 10 years.
You're right. So we're looking at that planning now, and as much as planning's important, this is a part of the planning.
Yep.
So, before you mischaracterize what I had to say, I believe in maintaining our roads. I've been in favor of having the 15-year road plan, of identifying the condition of our roads, how much money is needed to do that, and maintaining our roads in good operating condition. I'm in favor of all of that. What I am asking for is the draft ordinance with everything specified, so that I see it before I vote on it, even including the advertising.
Well, you will see it before you vote.
Well, before even advertising it. You have a different opinion, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And I did get a comment from this board.
Yes, there was another comment. Yes, sir.
Is there an idea how much our taxes are gonna increase?
At this point, we're looking at, what, possibly a mill and a
Mill
half?
to $1.5 million.
Yeah, we
Somewhere.
still haven't come to a conclusion on that, because that's part of the meeting we're coming to on Wednesday.
And just for everybody, for the record, what's a mill or $1.5 million equal per value of your home?
For an average home, it's about $100 per year.
It's $1 for every $1,000 of assessment.
Yeah,
So
average home is 118,000 with change as of 2023. If you double that, and when you double it, you're going into the 95th percentile, so there's like a dozen homes that are in that ballpark. You know, it's $200. And I don't say that glibly, I'm just giving you what the number is.
Just to give you an idea, the stream work we've done this year alone has cost us several $100,000. Okay, and that's to try to prevent flooding in people's homes. Okay, and we aren't done with that yet. So there are a number of issues that we're looking at.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The vote you wanted to take so you can advertise it. If you don't advertise it, they can't do anything on the 15th, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So all you're asking to do is to advertise it so that they can do something on the 15th.
Right.
Whether they say yay or they say nay.
Mhm.
But it's part of your job is, it has to be advertised 3
Correct.
days before. Well, that's a no-brainer then.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay, for the reasons stated earlier.
Okay. Thank you.
Jamie, I'll send the email to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to get that stuff out to us, email us.
Yes.
That's quickly. Okay, Chief, sorry about the delay. You're up.
All right, I don't have a physical report because our meeting doesn't occur until Monday. I can tell you some news. We hired a 13th officer. He started last week, so it's gonna be, he's on FTO for a year. It's gonna be a while till he gets his armor and he's out on the street answering calls, but you'll be seeing him. And we're working on another one. We're trying to go through backgrounds. It's a lengthy process, and we're getting to the point, hopefully we can present him to be approved to be hired as well before the end of the year. So, 2 more officers. So, with those 2 more officers, hopefully we can have another officer per shift on the street is my goal, and then we can use them either for traffic or for other issues that we all know we have in the area. So, anybody has any questions?
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Sure.
And we'll see you Monday night.
Okay.
Planning Commission.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
David Brown, I'm a member of the Township Planning Commission. I became aware just recently that if a farmer in the township is approached by a solar company and he commits his land to a solar array, the township has no ordinances, no guidelines or regulations to control such a project. We do have ordinances for solar panels on your residential home or windmill in your backyard, but nothing of any acreage prospect. Windsor Township is currently going through a very contentious program right now because they have a 100-plus acre solar farm proposed, and they have no guidelines in place either. So to get ahead of that issue, so we're not caught flat-footed, the Commission last Wednesday approved a motion to ask for your authorization for our commission to work together with Tom, the engineer, to draft guidelines and regulations and whatever ordinances are needed to give us a hold on a project like that so we have some control and some guidance on the future use of our farmland. Now, my term expires next month for my planning commission, but I thought it would be important to have some agricultural input into this process. So I have offered to work with Tom and with the planning commission for as long as it would take to the process to go through, to use my experience and knowledge of farming to help use farmland the best way. So I'm here tonight on behalf of the commission to ask for your authorization for us to move forward with drafting those.
I don't have a problem with it at all, and I think if you contact one Rodale and two PSATs, they may already have some ordinances that,
Oh, I'm sure they
that are in the
I represent
system.
some municipalities in Lancaster County, we just went through this too, so I can obviously help out with the draft that kickstarted. And the other thing, you brought it up, it's not on here, but it's windmills. So normally when you attack or address, I shouldn't say attack, when you address solar, you put windmills, wind farms, the same thing, yeah, sure you're,
Well,
the same type of restrictions.
Solar companies are
They're
rapidly
Yes.
moving forward, and they're using hybrid plans now where a solar farm and a agricultural takes place on the same acreage. So I'm not even sure how well that's gonna work for the farmland, for the farmer who's left with it. And I don't know if that's the best use of our farmland in this township. So we need to have something in place, so that's why I'm here to ask for that.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we allow the planning commission to move forward with a draft ordinance for regulations on solar and wind use,
In agricultural land.
agricultural.
Do I have a
I'll second that.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
Planning
for
commission, thanks.
bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, engineer.
Thank you. You have a copy of the engineer's report. First item is the subdivision review checklist. Your next supervisor's meeting is, you have some others, but the next
Regular meeting.
regular meeting is 12/14/23. Crossings at Maidencreek or the warehouse has granted the time extension to the board through January 19th, 2024. Board of Supervisors action required, if you so desire, to accept that time extension.
I'll move that we accept that time extension. Maidencreek process.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Can you do another one for Maidencreek Associates as well?
Maidencreek Associates, Planning Commission recommended that one. The plans needed to be, a lot of the items to be addressed. They are working on addressing those items. We have not gotten the plans.
Came tonight.
Just came tonight. So they'll just came tonight. That would be addressing the conditions that the Planning Commission recommended. So the plan expires on 11/20/23. Did you get a time extension? Okay.
For, who are we talking about? For the
For
yeah.
crossings.
He did, yeah, I think we did,
We
we
did
did
crossings.
them backwards. You said the
Yeah,
date for
Maidencreek
associates.
Associates, yeah, they're looking for the January
Yeah.
19th of 2024.
Yeah.
Maidencreek Associates is 1/19/24.
Right.
So let's correct that.
Yeah, let's correct that
That's
motion
correct.
first.
Okay, so let's go back and remake the
Maiden Creek
motion.
Associates.
Maidencreek Associates, time extension to January 19th, 2024. You want to read the motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion for Maidencreek Associates. Associates, yeah.
Yeah.
For a time extension to January 19th, 2024, for their preliminary plan application.
In a second?
I'll second that.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now crossing.
So I'm thinking, I don't know if I have a paper, but I thought that I saw Larry back there.
Jeez.
Hi, Larry. Is January 19th good for you?
Yep, now.
That's, okay, so you're gonna make it the same. All right.
Same time, yeah.
So you'll accept that time extension upon receiving the written request?
Do you have a motion?
Verbally, but.
And you'll get us the written request?
I'll send you an email right now, Larry, too.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we extend the crossings of Maidencreek preliminary plan to 1 January 1924.
Upon receiving written
The
request.
written request.
Yeah. Second.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
What's their current date?
The 20th.
11/20.
Okay,
All right,
perfect.
so I guess, so we do have a meeting next week, the 15th, so get it to us before the 15th, if you would, okay? Thank you. So I'll make sure that, because we only have a certain amount of time to deny. I don't want to do a motion to deny. We have a meeting ahead of time, but if for some reason we don't get it, then we have to deny it on the 15th.
You're gonna be here the 15th anyway.
So budget,
But you've got this other stuff on.
Yeah.
So
well, I know,
was
but
gonna
the
ask you that.
agenda would have to be updated.
Yes, yes.
So the board does have in their packet a small cell tower regulation ordinance that was recommended to you by the planning commission for your review. And that meets the Act 50 regulations, Act 50 requirements. We'll put that on for your December meeting. So it gives you a chance to review that ordinance. Copy of the zoning and code enforcement officer's activity report is attached. I also handed out to you tonight the SEO report, which doesn't have any action items on it or requirements. Have not heard a response on the second submittal of the engine retarder study, so that's with PennDOT.
Have you called them, because we have a number of residents that are concerned about how much noise,
There's been emails going back and forth.
and they've not responded?
They responded to email that they are reviewing it. It's under their review.
Have you asked them to expedite that, because this has been going on for
I
most of the year? If you, yeah, no, I mean, because no, it's a serious
I'll see-
problem.
I'll see if, I'll get you a definitive answer from them for your December meeting.
Right, because the only issue at hand was what they thought the posted speed limit was for
Correct.
222, and you verified that they were wrong in what they thought it was, or what's posted versus what they thought the
We
plans
told
were.
them, on the second review, what they requested, well, that's not the way the road is posted.
Right, that's an
Yeah,
issue.
so I think they're scrambling a little bit, maybe trying to scratch their heads, figuring out,
Well, it's PennDOT, you're not gonna get any kind of
Why?
speed out of them at all.
why are they asking for something that's not posted?
Yeah, they don't even go on.
All right? And that's everything I had for my report.
Thank you.
That's all the action items.
Solicitor report.
So just on the ongoing conditional use saga for the warehouse, the evidence portion of the hearing was concluded. We have a schedule set up that by November 28th, the parties will have to submit their findings of facts, concluding the law, written arguments, and then this board, sitting as the judges in that case, will render a decision on December 21st at 6 o'clock, I think, at the elementary school, so we said you're gonna hold, so on December 21st, we'll have that meeting to render a decision. I wasn't at that meeting, so I just need to read the transcript to see how that was announced. I did ask the attorneys who were there, they didn't think it needed to be re-advertised, so really we'll just continue to tell the public through these meetings that that's when things are going to occur. I will confirm that from reading the transcripts to make sure that we have that meeting properly advertised or announced. If it was announced properly, we just don't have to advertise it, and we'll save that cost. But I want to see that in the transcript it was done the right way. But again, we'll continue telling the public that December 21st is when a decision will be rendered in that matter.
I do have a copy of all the transcripts about the testimony.
Yes.
Because I would like to get some electronic copies of those, specifically the experts that testified on the noise issue, both for the applicant and opposed to the applicant. If you could forward that, I really appreciate that. Not for me, also was looking for any.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't hurt if we all ended up with it.
A lot of them.
Yeah. And then when they render their,
Yes, you'll get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure you get all the writings that we receive from, like I said, so every party has a right to do it. I think there's the applicant and around 20 parties, so
Right.
you could, I don't expect we'll get 20, but you could receive 20 writings from them, so.
Talking
we'll
about
make sure you
findings
get-
of fact.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting 20.
I don't think so either.
If we do, I'm sorry.
I do think we'll get some though.
Yeah, I think we'll get a couple. Okay.
Is there a
Can
question?
I get some clarification?
Sure.
Until that decision is made, the supervisors cannot discuss anything about what their thoughts are on the warehouse until that point, is that correct?
They should not discuss publicly or privately with you. We may have an executive session,
Right,
discuss
right.
amongst ourselves,
I
but
understand
again,
that.
not with the parties, not with the public, not in an open meeting, in private, anything like that. Exactly right. They should only render that decision based upon the evidence that was presented during this. So everything that the court reporter took down, that's what they should consider, nothing outside of that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. That's all that I have.
Okay, manager.
First thing is an announcement for the work schedule change. After Thanksgiving, we'll go to 5 days a week, 8-hour days, from the current 4 10-hour days. We're seeking direction from the board about whether to hold an employee holiday lunch this year. My discussion with Patrick, the authority manager, he indicated that whatever you guys decide, they'll participate in as well, whether it's holding it this year or not holding it. So I'm kind of looking for some direction from the board about whether you'd like to hold it this year.
Oh, we didn't do a picnic this year, so I think that's normally what we would do for our employees and staff.
I think we've done it every year for I don't
Yeah.
know how many years, so it would be
Many
nice to
years.
continue
Yeah.
a Christmas lunch. So we need a date on the thunder, so you're asking for the date?
No, just
you have that-
go ahead and plan it, we'll announce it.
Is that for township volunteers or just employees?
No, it's gonna be for the employees, the people who volunteer for the township, fire companies, invited police department.
Because it
the
said
authority.
employee, just want to clarify.
Yeah, it's for those who have given their time for the township in the past year. And then Chief, if you, when we get the date, we'll make sure you're aware, Chief. Both of yous. will-
Everybody will get invites.
Yeah. It's our way of saying thanks for the jobs that they've done throughout the year. So companies do it all the time, and I don't really, I think we definitely need to recognize our employees. Okay. So I guess we pretty much discussed the bond issuance. You're gonna, the projects are gonna be put into the ordinance. Comp plan process and cost sharing.
So I've had meetings with Fleetwood Borough and Richmond Township and the Berks County Planning Commission about their interest in doing the comprehensive planning process. Our comp plan is due for renewal. I know that the board had discussed in some degree this previously. So this would be a resolution to indicate how much Maidencreek is willing to contribute. I wrote up to 25,000. That I think would cover a little bit more than half if we went all that way. And in terms of population size, that would be in line. But it's really up to you what you want to set, or if you want to pass it at all. I would say that in terms of getting the process started, this is your next step to indicate who you are working with and who's your partners in the comp process. And by working with, I mean Berks County Planning Commission. The ordinance is also written in a way that it only takes effect, or sorry, the resolution is only written in a way that it only takes effect once Fleetwood and Richmond also pass a similar order, or I keep saying ordinance, resolution. Yes.
So what is the total cost expected for this? Do we have?
If I think that was provided to the board, I could be wrong
Yeah, I don't
about
remember
that.
the number was.
I believe it was 48,000. Let me pull it up so I can tell you exactly. Just taking a moment to pull up on my computer here. Okay. Estimate for 2023, oh, I'm sorry, $38,754.42 was their estimate. So the 25,000 is meant to be a flat number of not to exceed and a number to put into the budget for those costs as well. By population, if you split that out based on current population, it would be $21,295.33 for Maidencreek. So that's why it was set a little bit higher. They have a couple of different ways that it's split out. You can do it equally. Now this is contingent on other parties agreeing. You could do it by acreage. In that case, Maidencreek would pay $14,145, and Richmond would pay $23,571. The most equitable way from my reading is population.
Have you had any feedback from the other two, or?
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a sell for Fleetwood, and I think Richmond is prepared to go whatever way Fleetwood and Maidencreek decide.
Okay.
And when would this actually start? Is there a projected, or?
Their desire would be to begin in December or January. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't
quickly.
see, December's totally out of the question.
I think it's.
You're laughing.
You're being a realist, that's right.
Well, no, I mean,
December,
but,
yeah.
it's December, this is November.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, and start really only means for Berks County Planning to begin on their part. It may not mean first meeting for us. Yeah, I think Fleetwood has to put it into their budget, and what I understand from their manager is that that process, he's not sure what the outcome will be at this point. So.
We've done this before, though.
Yes.
We've had a comp plan for a great number of years, so, I don't know, and you have to do it every so many years, so, and we're past that date now. We should have done it, what, 2 years ago?
And I think the last one was finalized 2011.
But the previous one stays in effect until we come up with a new one.
Yeah, I mean, Eric could probably speak to the implications
Right.
of when it lapses past the 10 years.
They don't.
Keep going, they do not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And it's, I've seen where, you're right, they're supposed to do them every 10 years. I've seen where municipalities have waited 20 years and then the ordinance really, while it still exists, it becomes meaningless because it doesn't match existing conditions. So
Right.
You're a little behind, but you're,
On
if
track.
you start the process, you'll catch up.
I think the benefit for the township is if you wanted, first of all, it gives you a direction around zoning in a regional context, and zoning doesn't stop at the end of our borders. It does for us, but that doesn't influence what developers are going to try and do. And it's the first step you would need to take if you wanted to go down the route of joint zoning, which I think that there may be some appeal in looking to appropriately plan for highway development for 222. That was my very PC way of saying that.
Are you referring to Richmond Township or Maidencreek Township?
Both.
Yeah, Fleetwood's definitely not gonna fall into that avenue.
No, but there's Richmond, so.
Yeah. And let's face it, it's gonna be a 4-lane highway all the way up to Allentown before too long. Those are the plans. Roundabouts, 4-lane highway. Yep, the whole ball of wax. It's coming whether we're ready or not. And they will force feed
Yeah,
us.
if you wanted to approve that this evening, it would be, I think, helpful for Fleetwood in their discussions to say Maidencreek's on board, as well for Richmond. If you didn't want to approve it tonight, you don't have to. I do include it right now in the budget draft that you got previously, and also the one that was in for tonight, in the manila folders. Packets, I mean.
What do we think about the resolution?
I don't know, I think we could put this off for a while. I really would like to know if the other two municipalities are definitely on board or not.
I don't know how you're gonna get that answer until they wanna see what.
Well, they gotta budget it,
I know.
so.
Well, one does.
Okay, you're not gonna budget it in January and try to get it done, so.
We've had it with these guys before.
Truthfully, I would say that if you did not do it either tonight or next Wednesday.
And we're not gonna do it this year.
Yeah.
Well, do we have a motion to at least broach the subject? We're not spending the money yet, but we're at least looking at it and giving somebody else the opportunity to put it in their budget so that we can look at it as a 3-way group.
Can we take that as your motion?
Yeah, you can take that as a motion.
Because if we do it that way, I'm fine with it. I'll second it at that point.
Okay, all in agreement?
Aye.
I
Okay, comp plan reps for Maidencreek. This will be for next year.
Do we ask these individuals, or we actually put it out there that we're looking
We
for
did.
people to be on this?
I based this off of previous discussions that I had with board members.
We jumped around on this one. Because we just went through the discussion of the comp plan. We were gonna start from the top, you went right to the bottom. We just wanna tie the two together.
Well, I want to tie them
Okay.
together
Yeah.
because they're both part of the same thing.
I think it'd be appropriate to ask for people who are interested in it to get a variety of people. And there can be others that are interested that are not listed here for consideration.
I think we need somebody that's on the board. And my availability is slimming a bit because of things I've got going on. The 3 people that we were looking for was Eric Bellman as a supervisor, Jim Scholkopf, because he has an idea what's going on, and Don Geschwind, who has voiced a desire.
Right, and I think there could be other people, and I think the awareness is what's happened with the warehouse application. A lot of people had no idea what was possible on 222, for example, and I think it would be nice to get a third person involved who would be actively sharing input and would represent a lot of people in their concerns about some of the zoning that we have and how our zoning ordinance is and what the potential is for the future, so.
So what would make the 3 people here not be a third person?
Well, I said there's other people active in the community that we haven't put it out there or even let people know that this is up for appointment, and I think that we typically advertise on our website and put it out there to ask for names of people who are interested in various positions, and this is just another one, just like the zoning hearing board, and planning commission, and parks and recs and all of that. So I think it'd be appropriate to do the same thing, since there's really not a big time crunch here.
Honestly, we can table it anyway, because we just put out the motion to see if they're even interested in doing this.
Well,
So
right,
if this could all be for naught if Fleetwood
Okay.
and Richmond
So
say
let's-
no. So just table
Let's
it.
table this till, well, we'll table it till January.
Well, and we could put it on the website too, and people could express an interest.
I think you should advertise it really, to see how many other people are out there available.
Yeah.
What's involved in this? I mean,
Well,
like, is
it's-
that a meeting once a month, I'm just asking.
It might not even be that. I can tell you that I think we met once in the last,
That's the same,
in the last,
right?
yeah, I had one meeting. Okay, and I was on 6 years prior, and then going into my 5th year, so 10 years, one meeting.
But there's
Maybe we
potential
need
for
more.
more if
If we
the
go
other
to
two
form
municipalities
things
agree
together.
to pursue this and develop an updated comprehensive plan, so there could be quite a bit. I mean, there would not necessarily, not a huge amount of meetings, but you could have certainly
Right.
3 or 4.
I just think we should put it on the website with a detail, like sort of what's the involvement, so maybe somebody else might want to add there and if it was.
I was the representative for the one 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
There's, maybe not for the supervisors, but for the rest of them, there's
Right.
more meetings and more discussion and plans, ideas between townships come together, then we get together and talk about that. So, yeah, there's several meetings to take care of.
Yeah. I was only at one. You forgot to tell me.
You missed it,
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we'll go back to the discussion of the Cornerstone Drive Bridge replacement. Okay, so we've discussed this since the storms. The bridge is a problem that we're definitely in need of looking at. That's why we're looking at the bond and things like that, because it causes some flooding issues, and the bridge itself is actually got some deterioration that we need to worry about. So I guess at one point we were looking at, do we replace the bridge or do we not? I talked with the fire chief, and naturally he would do whatever we ended up doing, he would work around. However, safety's an issue, and I think that's something we need to look at as well. So I don't know that non-replacement is an issue at this point. For the safety of our residents, we will definitely be looking at a replacement. We've already looked at cost
I was
proposals.
gonna ask, have we gotten?
I
Okay.
have 5 different costs from 3 different manufacturers. Aluminum arch being the least expensive, concrete precast arch being in the middle, and then the most expensive was a precast composite steel deck bridge.
What's the bottom end to the top end, just hit us?
I think the bottom end is, with that cost, the engineering permitting cost and the install cost, the bottom end is 300 and the top end is 500.
Okay. Now with all these arches, do we get McDonald's too, or?
And what's our time frame that you would recommend that that bridge be replaced on? Do you have that?
The bridge is structurally, as I said before, the bridge is structurally at this point not going to fail.
Right.
Leaving the bridge in place, if you have a significant event, you are going to again see flooding occurring there, things, additional deterioration of that bridge. So do you have to replace it today or tomorrow? No, but you are subject to further issues down the road.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, because there is deterioration on it, so.
I mean, the bridge bottom is pushed up significantly, so I think you want to plan to replace the bridge.
It's just a poor design altogether.
And I like the fact, that the aluminum one, what is the lifespan of something like that?
That's what's in there now, and I know you were talking about clear span, but that's my opinion on it. I don't wanna go down that road again.
No, it's gonna be a clear span,
I know, but it's-
anything that we put in there
yeah.
now is going to be a clear span.
Clear span, but
Yeah.
still.
It's gonna be a natural bottom.
Yeah.
It's not gonna have, the metal or aluminum arch sits on 2 concrete,
Pedestal.
Anchors.
basically foundation, but the bottom is natural stream bed bottom. And you do have end walls and wing walls on all these designs.
So the flow-through is gonna be a straight flow-through the
Straight
creek.
flow through 26-foot, 5-foot minimum height, so the flow is being increased significantly.
So homeowners can fit underneath it now.
Whole sheds.
The whole shed can go under.
And you
We're
can
hoping
stay.
not.
You can stay here.
No.
Are you putting paddles on either side of it?
I know, I talked to your husband.
We're hoping not, but I think that's the other concern though, is if we leave it the way it is, it's still
We're building.
subject to trapping debris and getting trees and equipment and whatever, if there was ever anything that come, and you can't blame for that, you know, as far as the time frame goes.
I think if you go forward with this, then it's a matter of getting the permitting
Right.
and doing the project. I don't think that you need to rip it out and then do the project 6, 9, or 12, or a year down the road. I would say do it all as one project.
Right.
What's the time frame?
We don't have one.
No. So,
Wow, I'm trying to sell my house, I want to be able to tell that it's gonna be fixed.
we're working on it.
I know, trying to get top dollar here.
We wanna try to make sure that there's no more flooding as best we can.
Yeah. So you need it done by July when it starts hitting, that's what you need it done by.
Well, I think that's all we really need to discuss. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we have an idea of price, yeah, so.
We just have to decide in which project design it.
And again, let's go back and touch on with what has, because it's still an ongoing process, the guys are still working on it, in between picking up leaves and brush. There's significant changes to our waterways around town now, and, I think, again, I had to explain this to a few people, speaking at the polls, but nobody can plan for tragic events, obviously, but we're in way better shape now than we were. This has been 30, 40 years in the making. And, there's spots that the creek was completely flat, the water was flowing at a higher level than the grade next to it. And now that water level is down 4 or 5 foot in the ground until we found solid base. So, the channel widths, we also have widened to accommodate if we need to get in there again on an emergency permit, we can get in there with a skid loader if we have to get it cleaned out. And more of a maintenance type program to be implemented to stay on top of it so we don't end up in this situation again. So I'd say we're at the tail end here. We're at 80%, 85% complete with our projects. We got to basically go from Cornerstone Bridge down to Willow Creek, I call that the Delta because that's what it looks like. It looks like the Mississippi Delta just kind of flattened everything out down there. So that's got to get cleaned up and fixed up. And you said earlier, and I can't remember where it was, between the post office, between Fleetwood Bank and what original work was done, we're gonna go in there, and that's actually not that bad. I did walk that with Keith the other week, and it's more or less just cleaning up debris. That's pretty solid in there, so I'm not terribly worried about that section. It's just getting the dead trees out.
And was that swell done yet? I haven't walked over there. It was? I gotta go look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there was this.
The swell next to Annette. Yes. Oh, I didn't see you guys there.
And
There was-
behind the house on Spirit Court, check that one out too.
The what?
The house, the one behind
Okay,
Spirit
we
Court,
need to
on the house on Spirit Court.
Oh.
There was a swale that was actually from Spirit Court to the main channel of the creek that if you walk in the woods, you would never know it. And Schlock found it and exposed it, and it was 2/3 filled with mud. So it's been opened. The channel has been completely dug out, and honestly, I think they've gone above and beyond. They've been off now, but they've gone above and beyond what they were even required to do. And they kind of went up the rabbit hole and found that, hey, there's a pipe actually up here. So yeah, it's just we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I give a lot of kudos to the road crew guys.
Oh, yeah.
They knocked it out in a very expedient amount of time, and they're expert hydro seeders now.
So I have a follow-up question about the West Walnut Tree Bridge. Do we have that permit yet from PennDOT, not from PennDOT, from the DEP?
DEP has it on their docket for review, and I think we're very close to their 90-day, it's sometime in December that they have to render their
Approval.
approval, yes.
Oh, okay. Because, and then how much time does the township have to actually do that
I
work
think
after the?
those permits are good for 2 years, and you can normally get extensions on those.
Right, but we need to act on it, because we've invested quite a bit of money to get to that point, so it's, and, as far as any grant applications are concerned, have we heard back on anything?
Have not heard anything on grants. I don't know where we even stand on grants at this point.
No, well, honestly, that we haven't heard back at this point, I think is probably a better sign than not. Doesn't mean we'll get it, but we're still in contention at this point.
For how much money, do you remember how much that was? I know, I'm putting on the spot.
242,000, I think is the number in my head. That was the project that I think Chuck had scoped out, and I think it was supposed to be like 85%, and we were covering 15 of it.
Was that any of the PennDOT dirt road grants or anything
No,
like that?
nope.
Okay.
So that would be, okay, 85% of that. And,
Can I just answer
Sure.
a little bit more for you? The dirt road one was entirely meant to be preserved for the replacement of the Cornerstone Bridge.
Okay.
Cornerstone Drive Bridge, I'm sorry. So that's why it was a different one. It was a watershed protection grant, if memory serves me. Something like that. Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
so we have a lot of things to follow up on, is what I'm hearing on all of this stuff, because I know the issue the manager's brought up before. How many hours a week would you say that you spend as a township manager for Maidencreek? Like, on a regular week?
On average, I would say 42 hours, could be more. If I take off, it's obviously less.
Well, right, but on a typical week, because the issue of the township manager was brought up earlier, and I think it's important that we have a full-time person in this position because of the issues of follow-up on everything from grants. We've had the flooding issues, we've had the warehouse issue. The township manager is required to go to all the meetings and all that, and I understand that my other two supervisors have met and decided otherwise for next year. But I think that given all the responsibilities that we have, even in our own township ordinance for the township manager, which specifically requires the manager
I don't
to
need to
supervise
read
and be
the whole
responsible for all the township, departments,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
their employees. Well, no, this is what our
No,
ordinance says.
we
No,
know
don't
we know you're not
interrupt
gonna
me.
like the decision, but you know what, next
I'm
year you're out of the
bringing
role
out-
and then we move on, and you're just
Well,
gonna
you're
get
doing
over
things
it.
right now that I don't think is fair
There's
to our
nothing
township
been done.
manager.
There's
I
nothing
think
been done. There's no contract signed, no agreement's been made yet. They just approved it.
There's been
They
discussion
just
between the
approved
two
it.
of you to pursue an intermunicipal agreement with Greenwich Township, apparently.
Yeah, like you and Joe Farley didn't have that conversation.
And the thing is that
Do you wanna
I
keep
didn't
going down
know.
this road?
Okay.
Okay.
I have a
I have
question
the
for
Are you
you
gonna
about,
pay, are you
I
gonna
have
pay the
the floor
$20,000
right now.
back that the dam we had to put in for you?
This is work that was done on township property.
For your
$230,000 spent on
pond.
all of that.
For your pond.
Now, you're totally out of order
Oh,
on
who's
this.
out of order?
We have somebody who's wanting to hire a part-time manager. My concern, no, I have the floor right now, so you can't keep
Point of order.
The problem
we weren't
is
even
that-
done with the discussion on floods. Keith,
No, because the
the
problem is
Norfolk
here.
Southern train track block-ups, do you have any idea if they've been notified to do any clearances on those?
No idea that they were notified.
Okay, do you have any hunters? I mean, this has definitely to do with the streams and the floods and whether they've opened their underneath flow-throughs for water from like down, up in Hill Road and down through under the tracks.
Okay. If you're referring to anything specific that you've seen in the last 3 months, I will say no. The last that I am aware of is that we reached out to Norfolk Southern to draw attention to a large portion of the undercarriage of one of the risers that had eroded away from the flood. My understanding is that they were doing work in short order to fix that. In addition, they acquired road closure permits. Memory serves me, I think it was August or September, to close the roads crossing Goulden. I'm not even going to try to remember all of them. Yeah, I think if memory serves me, 3 crossings, we permitted them to close the 2 in separate order, and then they had to get stuff from the state in order to close Main Street.
Was that for the flow through, or was that for track restoration?
My understanding is that that was not related to storm work.
Okay.
I don't know what it was for, though, truthfully. I think they may have written a little bit more in their permit application, but I can't recall that off the top of my head.
Keith, is it possible for you to check on that, just so that we can try to clear some of that up as well? Because if we're doing all these stream replacements, then we're gonna have a choke point. I'd rather get rid of the choke points too.
Okay.
And then let Hunter know, and he can contact Norfolk Southern. Yes, sir.
Contact Norfolk Southern, could they possibly get the crossing in the middle of Blandon a little bit smoother than it is?
73.
Which
On
one?
Route 73. Otherwise, you might as well just have the Israelis bomb it, because it'll be just as good as what it is now.
I don't know what's going on with that, because all the shims are out of it.
They seem to fix it and it never lasts more than a few months.
I went over it on the motorcycle on poles on Tuesday.
You can go other areas, and they have a nice crossing that is flat as can be, and it works, but I don't know why they can't get ours right.
Well, I think they work on it, and then it only lasts for so many years, because the one at Golden was fixed about 5 years approximately. It was pretty smooth, and then it's deteriorated ever since, and it's gotten rough again, not as bad as the one at 73, but it has been a problem with some of that. But I did have still the issue with the township manager. When we had Diane,
We moved on.
No, we didn't move on. You cut me off, and I have
Well, I'm
the
gonna make
floor
a
on
motion to
this.
adjourn.
No, because she was working from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That was part of her contract. She was working as a full-time employee. We've had a full-time manager for over
Well,
20
you completed
years.
that contract when we
No,
went in and
the
terminated
problem
her.
is that Diane also paid herself an extra.
Oh, come on.
Here we go.
No, the DA already
And I
just,
have
You know what?
documentation,
The
and you have
township
the
residents have
documentation
spoken.
at the
That's
same
why you're
time,
done.
And this is what the issue has been here.
Okay, so we have some upcoming events. The Board of Supervisors special budget meeting is gonna be
So that you don't
November
want to hear the
15th.
truth.
We do, but we didn't wanna hear your
Oh,
Now-
my God.
Now, you've gotten copies of the documentation on the money.
How about the DA? What did the district attorney say?
What was approved by
The
this
Board of
board of
Supervisors
supervisors.
It doesn't matter
regular
what
meeting
you
December
know, the
14th.
district
You
attorney
know
already
The
exactly
did
conditional
it.
use hearing is not a conditional use hearing, but December 21st, we will meet at Willow Creek.
We have to do the change to Berks County, emergency responsible.
Yeah, we have the changes to the Berks County Maidencreek emergency response plan.
Well,
But the
this
county's
meeting is
asking
not
us-
adjourned, then you're still gonna hear what I have to say, because my other
No, we
concern is,
No.
we actually
who
have
is
stuff
going
on
to
the
actually
agenda
do
to talk
the
about.
work when we have only a part-time person in here? It's not fair to the people of this township, the taxpayers of
What
this
do you know
township, to
about
not
being
have
It
full
wasn't fair when you fired
coverage.
Diane.
Yeah.
She quit because she was exposed for the money that she took that.
Oh,
was
my
after
God.
by the
District attorney said it was clear
supervisors.
there was nothing. How about the 1.3 million euro?
That investigated
Yeah.
this, and it
1.3 million dollars.
And that's what happened here, and it's about time.
Knock it off.
Comes out. You people.
You're
don't
out
want
of
to hear
line.
the
people.
truth.
You're out of line.
People.
He just told you to
No,
stop.
because you don't
He's
want
the
to.
chair.
It's raining.
You don't want to hear it.
You try to cut me off because you want to bring
That's
someone
it.
in who works part-time.
That's
No,
it.
that is exactly what the
You won't
problem
be
is
here.
with this board, and you
Yes, sir.
unfairly targeted Hunter.
My question is about the meeting at Willow Creek.
Yes, sir.
Elementary
Is
school.
there, huh?
At the elementary, where we were before.
Right. Is there a reason why we're going there and not here?
Just because of the potential for a lot of people coming. I don't
I
know
don't
that we're
think
gonna have
that's
that.
gonna happen,
I don't know, bring tree
that
tops
up.
back on the agenda, you might get some more.
I'm just bringing that up.
No, it's
I
gonna
think, I mean, I don't
be,
know how much money it costs to go there, but to me, I think it's.
And the acoustics are tough.
yeah, it's what, $95 or something like that?
Yeah.
And it won't be a long meeting.
No.
It's already been a,
It's not gonna be anyone like the
Scheduled.
hearings.
I think it's a precaution, you know,
Yes.
you don't, and this will be the decision, I think folks have understood that they're not making a decision before this, and I think it would be much worse if there were, 100 people that showed up here. In retrospect, the previous meeting should probably have been there as well for public comment, but you can't always plan them out, and we're trying to respect, you know, the desire for folks to be able to witness what happens.
Chief, one of the things we want to ask you, we contacted Fleetwood about supplying an officer, and they're unable to do that because of their scheduling at this point and the officers off. Is there a possibility that one of our officers could, under the service
We need an
agreement?
overtime position maybe, because we only have two, so.
Right.
To tie one up there, we kind of.
I don't
Yeah,
think we
don't know
really,
if we're
I
gonna
don't think
have
that's
that.
really an issue at this point. I think people have conducted themselves in a way that have, just, you know,
I
they
don't see
made their
it being an
comments.
issue.
I
You
don't see people being out of line on this.
You'll be lucky anybody shows up, to be honest, a couple people.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. There's gonna be people that are interested in a decision on this. So, that's my only concern, and we just have to wait and see, I guess. So, we'll wait. If they need you, they can call for backup, right?
Yeah, we have, we have an MOU with them.
Yeah.
We help each other all the time, so.
Yep.
But I normally have two officers working. I don't know what it'll be like that night.
Right.
Put one there and half my shift.
Yeah, I don't wanna see that either.
Yeah.
I don't think we need it, so
Okay, well, we'll see what happens, but I'll just give you the idea that. something
Yeah, I can
happened.
check too, maybe, on some nights we do have 3 or 4.
Right.
So we need those office,
Yeah, not every
committee.
I would just, I mean, the recommended changes for all municipalities, Chris.
It's the county that's looking for the change,
Yeah.
because they need it for their countywide plan. Yeah, we might as well. So we have a county plan for emergency.
Both resolutions, the same number.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to change 1 to 32.
I think.
I
in the
thought you adjourned
packets-
the meeting. Didn't he adjourn this
No,
meeting?
you
No.
had a motion, no second.
Well,
I
I
think,
thought he was.
I think the resolution in there
Yeah,
does say
but
31 for the cost sharing, does say 32 in your packets. Can you just clarify?
I just noticed it on the agenda.
Let's see what, I have it right
I
here.
think that was because I wrote them out of order, and I put 32 there.
It is, it's
As
32.
long as they're right, I'm not worried about the agenda, I'm worried about them.
So 31 was the one we passed up here, and
The
then
cost
this is
sharing.
32.
And this is a resolution adopting the hazard vulnerability assessment and mitigation plan update for Maidencreek Township, along with the county of Berks. So the county of Berks has a countywide plan, and we're a part of it, so. So do I have a motion to adopt resolution 32 of 2023?
I'll make the motion we adopt resolution 32 of 2023.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Okay,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
we're gonna go into executive session after this. There's not gonna be any decisions made after that meeting.
So it's litigation and personnel, that's
Yes.
the only thing else that's done.
Okay, do I have a second to adjourn? I'll make the second. All in agreement? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed to how you conducted this meeting.